here fresh and going to be in the United States for the next 6 weeks or so? 4 weeks. 4 weeks. We're just trying to stretch it out to 6 weeks so we get you come back. So they're here in the United States. They're going to be traveling around, but this is their first stop, and we're so glad to have them with us. Fred is going to have some slides for us, and I've asked him to leave a little bit of room at the end. So if we have questions, and I know the type of people that we are going to have questions for you, and he would be happy to answer them, wouldn't you, Fred? Yes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's the right answer. So, Fred Asare, I'm going to turn it over to you for the presentation on time.
I guess I can stand here, right?
You want them off or on?
All in the background turn off. If they want
They were fine, that's fine.
although we have a little.
Like so, okay.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Well, I'm sure glad to be here with my family, and I'd like us to begin with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for all the blessings you give to us, both spiritual and physical. We thank you for Christ Jesus, whose sacrifice at Calvary has brought us together as one family under you. We thank you for your kingdom work all over the world where you rule. And we thank you for lives that are transformed to the glory of your name. We are grateful for tonight and the privilege to gather as your sons and daughters to hear about your work and to be encouraged by that. We pray your presence. We pray you help us in this fellowship tonight. And in all things, we give you praise and thanksgiving through Christ Jesus, your Son. Amen. Almost 30 years ago, I believe in 1994, which brings us to about 29 years now, this church in Traverse City got involved in the work of the Village of Hope. Well, before then, the church has been involved in water well drilling in Ghana, and Josiah Tilton was a missionary in Ghana, living in Ghana with his family, who was supported by this church. And whilst he was supervising the drilling of wells for communities that did not have good water and had to rely on contaminated water, which gave rise to many sicknesses and diseases, Village of Hope had begun, but was struggling. And what happened was 2 preachers had gone for some orphans that they were taking care of, and with a promise that they would be sent money for the care of those orphans, but that didn't happen. And so they were really struggling to take care of the children, and they sent letters out asking for help from the Churches of Christ in Ghana. And Josiah Tilton happened to get a copy of that letter, which he sent over to the Traverse City Church and asked if the church could help with the work in Ghana. And that is how, in 1994, the Traverse City Church began its involvement in the work of caring for orphans, abandoned and destitute children in Ghana. So it's been 29 years going on to 30. And over those years, the children's home has grown from 8 children to presently over 200 children. Of course, more than 100 children have gone through the Village of Hope, have graduated from college, and are doing very well all over the country. We have children from the Village of Hope who are now serving in the military, who are serving as teachers, who are working as nurses and doctors, university professors, immigration officers, accountants, bankers, restaurant owners, and one is a member of parliament in Ghana and represents a very large constituency in Ghana. And so the work has grown over the years to the glory of God, and I want to give you an update about that work. So Village of Hope is currently made up of 7 different ministries. And there's an 8th ministry that you don't see openly, but that is working throughout all the 7 ministries. It's like a yeast that you put in a dough, and it works silently throughout the 7 ministries. And so I will tell you about the 7, but just so you know that there is an 8th component, which is the spiritual development of the people that we minister to. In everything we do, there's a spiritual component. Because we've said over and over again that anybody can take care of an orphan, anybody can feed the hungry, anybody can clothe the naked, anybody can help the needy. But it's the responsibility that God has given to only the church to work out the salvation of people. And so, in addition to everything we do, the church must make sure that souls are saved for eternity. Because that the Red Cross cannot do. That Feed the World program or World Food Program or the United Nations, they cannot do that. They can do everything else. But it is our responsibility, and we are the only ones who can preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the lost, so God would save and give the increase. And so in everything we do, we make sure that the spiritual development of the people we impact is prominent in that. So Village of Hope exists primarily. I say that we have one mission which comes out in 2 ways. And our mission is to glorify God by saving lives and serving humanity. And our vision is to become a self-sustaining nonprofit organization that provides excellent childcare, healthcare services to people in need, and educate students. And so that is a nutshell of what we do. We seek to glorify God by saving lives and serving humanity. So be it in education or healthcare or planting churches, evangelizing the lost, we seek to save lives and serve humanity. Our values: selflessness, integrity, compassion, and loyalty. So the work of the Village of Hope is in 7 ministries. The first is Hope Children's Village. Hope Children's Village is a children's home or an orphanage located on our main campus in the southern part of Ghana, in Fete. Currently taking care of 228 children. We got 91 who are residential children in cottages or in homes. We have 7 homes. Each home has a married couple as house parents, and the married couple takes care of the children. 3 of the homes are for girls only, and 4 of the homes are for boys. But in each home, there is a married couple that takes care of them. We have an 8th home, which has a child with multiple disabilities. So it's just one child with one caregiver in that home. But the 7 homes have children, and currently we have 91 children living in the 7 homes. These are children from little ones all the way to the 9th grade. Then we have 3 children who are also in elementary school but don't live on our campus. They live with other people, but we take care of them. We are responsible for their care. So making a total of 94 children. We have 33 children in high school who grew up at the Village of Hope, but in Ghana, most high schools are boarding schools. And so when you go to 10th grade, high school is 10th through 12th grade. When you go to 10th grade, you move from home and you go to a boarding school. And so these 33 live in the dormitories. They only come home during school holidays or vacation. And for the first time, we have 70 children who are in college or in tertiary institutions. And so you will notice, if you add 70 to 33, we've got 103. And so now we have more children in high school and college than we have children in the homes. So in the past, it was the other way around. We had more children in elementary school living in the homes and very few in high school. But now it's 10 because the young ones are growing and they are now moving on to college. We have 11 children who are in vocational school. They are learning a trade. And so these are children that they are better able to learn hands-on things than to do academic work. And so after 9th grade, they choose to go to a trade school to learn a trade than go to high school to learn history, geography, and all that. Then we have 20 children who have completed high school but are waiting to enter college. And to enter college in Ghana, there is a minimum requirement that you must meet. And these children have not fully, they've graduated from high school, but they have not fully met the requirements for them to go to college. And so they are now doing remedial classes, and they're going to write the high school exam again and hope that they'll be able to make it to college. And so those are the 20. So in all, I'm taking care of 228 children from our residential facility in the southern part of Ghana in Fete. Last year, 2022, 28 new children were admitted into the home. And we don't know how many we're going to admit this year, but as more children go to high school and more go to college, the homes become empty, and so from time to time, we fill that up with new children. Then we've got 36 who were baptized in 2022. So that's the 8th element I'm talking about. So it's not just about feeding children, it's not just about clothing them or giving them good education or giving them good health care, it's also teaching them about Jesus Christ. And it's also helping them to believe in Jesus and to clothe Jesus Christ in baptism. And so last year, 36 of these children got baptized. And this is just from the children's home that were baptized last year. So these are some of the babies. Now I want you to notice that each one of these babies you are looking at was abandoned. Okay, they were abandoned. Some were abandoned in public toilets. Some were abandoned at bus stops. Some were abandoned in the market. Some were abandoned in the bush. Some were abandoned behind gas stations. They were just abandoned all over the place. And the police could not trace their families. And so they contacted social services, and social services brought them to Village of Hope. So we have a babies' home where these abandoned babies are brought, and then with time, social services give them for adoption. But we take care of them. Most of them come with health problems. And thankfully, we have a hospital that takes care of them, and then they are well, and we take care of them till they are adopted, and then they join their adopted families. So that's the baby's home. And then these are little children in the children's homes who are orphaned, who have been brought to us to take care of. Of course, they grow and then move on to 1st grade through 9th grade. So these are some of those children. And then these are some of our children in high school. And then these are some of our children in college. As I said, we have 70 of them in college, and these are just a few of them. And these are some of the boys also in college. And these are some of our children who, after elementary school, went on to trade school to learn a trade. That is a skill. So some learn to sew, some learn sew clothing, some learn to make bags, like leather bags, backpacks, shoes, belts, and leather products. Some learn hairdressing, then some learn auto mechanics, and different kinds of skills. So these are just 2 of those children, 11 children or so, who are learning a skill or a trade. These are some of our house parents. In each home, we have a married couple. And so the married couple are those who take care of our children. And so On the left is George and Cynthia Arthur. On the right is Rexford and Juliet Esumin. And then on the left is Victor and Victoria Agbeko. So they are the house parents in the Traverse City House. You know, there's a house at the Village of Hope called the Traverse City Church of Christ House. And Victor and Victoria on the left, they are the house parents in that house. And then on the right is Irene and Ebenezer Eisi. So these are some of the parents. And this is Samuel and Betty Efrie. They are also house parents. We have 7 couples who are house parents in the 7 homes. And then we have a single lady who is taking care of the child with multiple disabilities in our 8th 2-bedroom house. So these are some of the baptisms we recorded last year. And then these are the children in their homes having lunch on the top left. And then they do a lot of artwork and play activities. Soccer is our #1 game. So whether the field is green or is dead, we play soccer. So the green field on the left, on the top left, that's the Village of Hope soccer field. But then they would go to town and play soccer competitions with other children and other schools. And the dead soccer field, that is the field in Fete, in the Fete Township. And so they love to play games. We have been renovating some of our buildings in the past year and building new ones. And so now we are building 2 babies' homes. The first one was just completed in January, which is the McClanahan Family Babies Home. This home would house 40 babies drawn from all over the country. So we are in partnership with the Social Services of Ghana, the Department of Social Welfare, and right now we are only helping abandoned babies in the central region or the central state. Ghana is divided into 16 different regions. A region is what you would call a state. But the size of Ghana is about the size of the state of Kansas. And then it's divided into 16 states. And then the states are divided into counties. And so right now we are in the central region or the central state of Ghana. And that's the only place we take the abandoned children from. But there is not a similar facility across the country. And so we are now working with the social services that children from all over the country who are abandoned can cross state lines and come to the Village of Hope. And so that's why we built the house on the left, which is the McClanahan Family Babies Home. That would host 40 babies from all over Ghana. As I said, we just finished that in January. On the right is the building under construction, the William Lashley Babies Home. That will be completed by 31st of March. In the next 2 months, we will complete that building. That building would be for children with special needs. Now, this is an area we've not gone into, so it's going to be a new area for us. But there are many children who have special needs that families abandon, nobody really cares about them. And we believe they are also God's children. They also need love and care. And so we are going to, starting from the 2nd quarter or so of the year, to help some of those children. And that's why we've built, or we are building the Williams Lashley Babies Home. And so we need your prayers because caring for 40 babies is going to be a big challenge. We've never done that before. And of course, caring for children with multiple disabilities is an entirely new ministry, an entirely new field that we are going to venture into. So we need your prayers in that regard. And these are some of our old homes that have been renovated because they have not been renovated for so many years. And last year, we were able to renovate that, including, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the Traverse City House, but we've renovated the Traverse City House. And we thank you for the gift you sent to us that enabled us to renovate that as well. And so these are old houses that have now been renovated. Every year we have a homecoming, every Christmas. All our children in college and all our children in high school and all the children who are now adults and are independent are invited to come back. And some of the independent ones would come with their wives or husbands and their children. And there's a big homecoming every Christmas. And so we do that, and usually they stay on through the new year. And then after about maybe the 4th of January, they go back to where they came from. And so this is this year's or last year's homecoming and New Year party that we really enjoyed ourselves. So there are so many pictures, but we just selected a few to show you. So this girl, for example, is in college, but she came for Thanksgiving and for homecoming. The bottom picture on the right, the bottom right picture, those are children in another children's home in the northeastern part of Ghana, which I'll talk about. And they all came. We've got 24 children there. They all came to Fete for homecoming. So that's called the Hope Children's Place. So Hope Children's Village is in Fete, in the southern part of Ghana. Hope Children's Place is in Bongo in the Upper East region. It's very close to the Ghana-Burkina Faso border. And we have 24 children there. 20 in elementary school, 2 in high school, and 2 in college. So these are some of the children in the Upper East region in Bongo. So all these are children in the Upper East region that we care for. And this is our campus there. We've got 3 homes over there. We're currently using only 2, but the 3rd home is empty. As we grow that, we would fill the 3rd home as well. So this is our campus in Bongo in the Upper East region. And these are some of the children there having lunch. And these are children in school. And then we have the Hope Training Institute, which is the trade school. It is built mainly for street teenagers. So when we find a little child on the street, that child comes to the children's home. But if you find a teenager, 14, 15, 16, we take those teenagers to the trade school, and we give them skills: auto mechanics, sewing, leatherworks, hairdressing, catering, weaving, kente weaving, cloth tie and dye. They learn all those skills. And currently we are caring for 37 teenagers in our vocational school. So leatherworks has 8, hairdressing has 16, sewing has 17, auto mechanics has 6, a total of 37. It's a really challenging ministry because these kids live on the street. Some have lived on the street for many years. They are independent, and when you bring them under control, under discipline, under a structured system, it's difficult for them to adjust. And many of them go back. They go back to the streets because they would rather be free and hungry than to be under a structured system and receive free food and free training. It takes about 2 years to train a teenager who's been taken off the street, and many come and go. And it's a really tough ministry dealing with kids who live on the street. Last year, what we do actually is when we bring a kid in there, we reunite that kid with the family, or at least we let the family know that this kid is now living with us in our trade school. And last year, a boy who left home when he was 10 years old has lived on the street for 5 years. He's now 15 years old. And the whole family knew, in fact, the whole village where he comes from had assumed he was dead. Because his father sent him to the farm, he never came back. So they reported to the chief of the village. They had a search party, go to the farm and to the bush. Everywhere they searched for him, they couldn't find him. And after searching, they assumed he was dead. Well, he ran away to Accra, the capital city. And for 5 years, nobody has seen him until we brought him to the Village of Hope. And as our practices, we had to reunite him with his family. So we took him back to his village, and everybody was shocked because they thought he was dead. I mean, the mother just laid on the deck, unbelievable, crying in joy, and everybody thought he was dead, But we let them know that no, he's with us, and so we took him back, and he's now in training. So these are some of the students or the teenagers that we've taken off the streets who are training at the vocational school or Hope Training Institute. And these are the staff members who train them, security people, cooks, the trainers or the teachers, and then social workers and administrators who work with them. So this is part of the big picture is hairdressing class, and then the picture on the right is leatherworks, or the two, and then the picture in the middle right, that's auto mechanics, and this is sewing. And so 8 of them graduated in 2022 with having been trained, and now they have the skills. So after the training, we set them up. So we help them settle off the street. So after you've been trained, we'll give you equipment, and whilst you are in training, we've reunited you with your family. We are talking to the family, counseling is going on, and so by the time you finish, we are ready to take you back to your family or back to your community, where we will help you to establish your own business. So if you learn to sew, then we will take you back, and you can sew and make a living that way, so you don't have to go back to the streets. If you learn to be a hairdresser, we set you up, get a small room, set up a salon, hairdressing salon, so you can operate in your community, earn an income, and don't go back to the streets. And our social workers follow up and make sure they are in their communities and they are working. And so that's what we do for these trainees. So this is the picture on the left. That's a hairdressing graduate. So the items there are all items that she's going to take away so she can start her own hairdressing salon. And we would rent a place for her to start that. And then the one on the right, I think, is an auto mechanic. So he has tools so he can, find a job, and he can fix people's vehicles and make a living that way. So this was part of the graduation. Also, we help them with painting or artwork, just to bring out the skills and the talents they have. And so that's extracurricular activities for those children. Then we have the hospital. So this is about the hospital, Hope Christian Hospital. It started as a small sick bay or infirmary for our children when they fall sick. Now it's grown into a big hospital. It's like a county hospital with 76 beds. We have average daily patient attendance of 65. We have 3 medical doctors, so when you see medical officers, those are physicians. And then we've got 2 physician assistants. And we've got over 40 nurses. It's a 24-hour facility. So the nurses take turns of 8 hours each. So each day, 3 sets of nurses would come for the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and the night shift. We have about 5 midwives. About average of 30 babies are born there every month, which averages about 1 a month. In the past, we went to about 40 babies a month, but I don't know, now we're down to about 30 babies a month. The hospital is doing very well, and one thing we've added is helping premature babies. So the central region of Ghana has a population of about 3 million people. That's where we are. And in that 3 million people, there's only one facility, the hospital in the state capital or in the capital city, that is able to take care of premature babies who are born prematurely. And so in Ghana, it's almost a death sentence if a baby is born before the 9th month. Whereas about 90+% of such children survive in the United States, less than 30% survive in Ghana. About 28% survive. Because we don't have neonatal intensive care units, or NICU. And so the whole region, 730 million people, was only one hospital. So Village of Hope Hospital started the second NICU. And because of that, now other children are, premature babies are referred to our facility. And last year we had a prematurity week. We invited some experts from Savannah, Georgia, to come, and they work with premature children, and we had the prematurity week, and medical personnel from other facilities came to our facility to be trained for 1 week. And so this was part of our prematurity week celebration that we had. And as part of that, the staff went through, communities, educating people on the streets. If you hear of a child born prematurely, please refer them to the hospital. Because in Ghana, they'll just let the child die, But so we are educating the public to do that. We have 3 schools, 2 elementary schools and 1 high school. And our first elementary school is Hope Christian Academy. It's from 2 years to 9th grade. And now we have, the preschool is 2 to 5-year-olds, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. And then they're about 135, and then we have the first grade through 9th grade, about 409. So the school has a population of 544 students. It's a regular school. That's where all the children from the children's home go. But the school is also open to the public. And so people from the communities around come to school there, and they pay fees. And with their fees, we are able to run the school. The school is not completely self-financing at this stage. Our goal is that within a year or so, we will get to a point where that school will be self-financing. Remember, one of our vision is to become a self-financing group of nonprofit organizations serving humanity. And so we are hoping that soon this school will be self-financing as far as its operations are concerned. So there's a day what we call a career day. On that day, children dress up in the careers they hope to become in future. So if you look on the right, those are children who want to be nurses. The green and white, that's the nurses' uniform in Ghana. So if you see someone in that uniform, you know the person is a nurse. And you can see they have something around them. I don't know what the name of that thing is. But, and if you look at the bottom left picture, you see, so this one who wants to be a lawyer has the wig, which is an old British system of how lawyers are supposed to dress in court. On the right side is somebody who wants to be a military person. So they just dress the way they hope to become in future. Of course, in school, they also engage in soccer. And this is our boys' dormitory. So the academy is made up of both boys, both boarding students and day students. And so these are all boarding students whose parents have brought them to boarding school. Then there's a school in the eastern region of Ghana called Hope Ridge School, and that has a population of 306. This is their preschool building, 2 to 5-year-olds. That was dedicated about a year ago. And then this is their elementary school building. Then we have the high school. I don't have any pictures of that, but Hope College is a high school, 10th to 12th grade. It was established 10 years ago in October 1, 2012. And now has a population of 383. This is going to go up to about 400. Our maximum would be 420. We are still enrolling into 10th grade. We are going to get to 140, and we are going to cap it at 140 for the 10th graders. But the good news about this school is that it is currently self-financing. So the high school, operation-wise, is self-financing. All the students are boarding students. So it's a boarding-only high school. And it is from the school fees that people pay, the school is able to run. We pay our staff, we pay our electricity and water and utility bills. We are able to feed all the boarding students 3 meals a day. Plus, they make excellent results in the 12th grade exam and go on to university. And because the performance is so good, many more people are bringing their children. Right now, all the 33 children from the children's home who go to high school go to Hope College for free. So they are on full scholarship. Then there are needy people around or needy families whose children also get scholarship to go. And then preachers of Churches of Christ who bring their children there are on 50% scholarship. But 17% of our students are on scholarship. And in spite of that, the school is self-financing. And in fact, this year, we're going to have a surplus for the first time in our history. And that surplus would then be donated to the children's home, so the children's home can take care of itself. And we are hoping that in a year, maximum 2 years' time, the 2 elementary schools, Hope Christian Academy and Hope Ridge School, would also become self-financing. The hospital is self-financing. That was the first to be self-financing. Now the high school is self-financing and is going to generate a surplus to support the children's home. And we are hoping that in addition to providing education to the kids in elementary school, that the Hope Christian Academy will also become self-financing. And so that's our goal and that's our hope in what we are doing. Just a little bit on the Village of Hope as a whole. Last year we had projects going on. We constructed a 6-unit apartment for teachers for the high school. Because we've got teenagers from 14 to, 15 to about 18 years in high school, and they are all boarding school students. We need more teachers to be on campus to monitor and to supervise the children. And so we built a 6-unit apartment building, and the teachers moved in January. And then I'm sure you received an appeal last year for us to buy a piece of property that was next to our campus. It was just next to our campus, and it became available for sale. And some people wanted to buy it for commercial purposes. And we knew that if they did that, it would cause a lot of noise and disturbances to the home and to our schools. And so we needed to buy that to secure our peace in the coming years. And we made an appeal, and thanks be to God, people responded. So we're able to buy 5 additional acres of property, and we have put a wall around it. You know, there's a lot of land encroachment in Ghana. If you buy a piece of property, you don't develop it, the next time you know, somebody is already bought it from another person and is developing it. And then you go to court, and it takes forever. It takes forever to get a settlement out of court. And so the best thing to do is, when you buy property, you fence it off. Then everybody knows it's your property. And so we've been able to buy that 5 acres, and we fenced it off. And so originally, we had 25 acres in Fete. And now we've added this 5 acres to make it 30 acres. Then the chief of Fete and his elders, so land in Ghana is owned by the tribes. And the chiefs hold the land for the people. So they hold the land in trust for the people. So if you want to buy land, you go to the chief. The land doesn't belong to the chief. It belongs to the people. But the chief is the custodian of the people's land. So he would sell you or lease to you part of their land. And the chief of Fete, seeing the work that the church was doing, donated about 65 acres of property to us. And so in all, now we have about 95 acres of property in Fete. Then I've already told you about the babies' homes. Babies Home 1, the McClanahan family home, has been completed, and we hope to complete the second one in March. So now we've got 70 kids in college. When I went to college, computers were just coming out, and we didn't need computers. We did our stuff with a typewriter. But now, kids are supposed to hand over assignments to their professors using a computer or using a laptop. So one of our greatest needs now is to be able to give each one of these kids a laptop. You know, they always come to me and they ask for a laptop, and I say, well, you should be grateful that we pay your fees and we give you food and we pay your room and board and we buy you textbooks and we've bought you a cell phone and we've bought you some credit to use on the cell phone, but we cannot afford a laptop. So on this trip, my prayer is that I'll be able to raise 70 laptops. That's a big goal, but our God is bigger than that, to help so that each kid there would get a laptop, because they really need it. We know they need it, but we don't have the means to provide it. And so that is a big need that we are currently working on. Of course, as I told you, we are expanding our care of abandoned babies from the central region to the whole country. And so we have a house that would house 40 babies, and caregivers and all that. Is going to be a big responsibility, caring for babies around the clock every day, you know. And so we're looking for support for that, and for a vehicle that will be attached to the baby's home. Because what happens is that when a child is found and is taken to the police, and the police report it to social services, and social services call us, they don't have a vehicle to bring the child. I mean, a whole county, social services does not have a vehicle. Because the whole central region, social services in Ghana, the central region, has one vehicle for the state. And that vehicle is driven by the regional director of social services. And so often they will call, we found this child in this community, we need you to help us. So, well, bring the child. I mean, we are going to take care of the child. The state does not support us in anything, whether it's the children's home or the school, or, you know, we don't get any help from the state caring for these babies. So I say, bring the child, we will take care of them. And it's like, well, our director is going for a conference, and he's gone with the vehicle, and there is no vehicle. So we have to drive to that community to bring the child, you know. And usually it's a matter of life and death, because this is an abandoned child whose life is hanging in the balance, and we need to get to that child and bring that child to our hospital as quickly as possible. And we have a few vehicles, and they're always busy, you know. And so what we want to do, since now we're going to go nationwide, we need a vehicle that's attached to the baby's home. So whenever we have a call, come to Yendi, or come to Passa, or come to Wa, which is like, Wa will be like 18 hours drive. We should be ready. A driver, a social worker, and a nurse should be ready to set off immediately and bring those babies. You know, it's about saving lives and helping these babies. And so that's a need. Now we have the home. We have about 4 caregivers. We're going to recruit more and start caring for these babies all across the nation. And we need a vehicle that will be attached to that home. So whenever we have a call from the Volta region or the eastern region or the western region or any part of Ghana, we are ready to go rescue those children. So we need your help, we need your prayers, and your constant encouragement, as you have been doing over the last 29 years. So thank you very much, and I will take any questions you may have.
Why are so many abandoned babies?
Well, we have a lot of teenage pregnancies in the country. And there is no social support system for them. If a teenager becomes pregnant, most likely the parents are going to throw her out of their home because she has brought disgrace to the family. And so she may be driven away from the home. And usually, the teenage boy who is responsible will deny responsibility. Well, I don't know anything about it, and so the boy's family will deny responsibility. The girl's family feels that the girl has brought shame to the family, and they kick her out. And these girls struggle to survive and to give birth, and the children become a burden, and so they abandon them. And the police don't have a means of tracing those children. So what will happen is, if a teenager gave birth in Traverse City, that teenager may ride a bus to Grand Rapids, and then at a gas station, drop off the baby, and then run away. So usually the baby is not from where he or she was dropped off. The mothers will go to a completely different community and just leave the baby, and then, they've been kicked away from home, so they go somewhere, live on the street for 1 year, and go back home. And where is the baby? Oh, the baby died, and then they go back to their community. And many of the babies they abandon also die, because they, in fact, right now there is a bill in Parliament to change the law where if any mother doesn't want the baby, they just have to go to the police station and hand over the baby. So it's not law yet, it's now in Parliament, hoping that it will help, because there are so many people who want to adopt, but we don't have enough babies to be adopted. We have enough children to be adopted, but our adoption law in Ghana is that if you want to adopt a child, you need the permission or the blessing of the extended family. So there are many babies or many children at the Village of Hope who are orphans, but they have family. I mean, they have a grandmother or a grandfather. Their mother and father are dead, but they do have an uncle or an auntie who cannot take care of the babies or the children. So they come to Village of Hope. Some of them have been in the Village of Hope for 10 years, and nobody has come to visit them. Nobody cares about them. Nobody really, bothers to even think about them. Yet, if somebody wants to adopt that child, the law says you got to seek the consent of the family that doesn't care, the family that haven't visited that child for 10 years. You still need their consent. And then when you go and say, well, we found your grandchild at the Village of Hope and we want to adopt, they'll say, oh, no, that's my blood. I won't give my blood to you. Or some will say, no, the parents will be angry with me, and the ghost of the dead parent will come and haunt me. Okay? So they think if they give away the child, then the dead parent's ghost would come and haunt them. So they won't give away the child. They don't care about the child. They don't feed the child. They don't visit the child. They don't really know about the child. But the law says, if you know the family, you've got to get their consent. Otherwise, the judge will never grant the adoption. That's our law. And so there are many children at the Village of Hope who could have easily been adopted, but they cannot because the extended family will not give consent. So the only real children that can be adopted are the abandoned babies, because with them, there's no parental consent. There's no family consent. Nobody knows where they come from. Nobody knows their family. So with those cases, social services just decides and grants those children away. And so now Parliament is thinking of making a law, instead of abandoning these babies in public toilets and in holes. I mean, some are abandoned in the bush, and are found by hunters, or sometimes it's too late. They are eaten up by a wild animal or something, Instead of people just abandon their children anywhere, they're trying to make a law where you just hand over the baby and then you go away. And once you walk away, you relinquish your rights to the baby. That way, we can have many babies alive, because many of them die. But that way, we can have many of them alive and give them to those who want to adopt. But it's not yet law. It's now being discussed in our parliament. And so basically it's just there are so much teenage pregnancies and no support system or whatever for those teenagers, and then they just, because they've shamed their families, they've been rejected by their families, and they feel the children are a burden on them. These are teenagers who don't have a job, are not in school, are struggling to survive on their own, and they feel the baby is a burden, and they just abandon the baby. Yes.
What is the average education level of children throughout the country of Ghana compared to the education level that they would receive at the Hope Campus?
Well, only about 10% of kids who start elementary school go to college. And in some cases, and this is even the highest we've ever had. So many drop off after the 9th grade. So our educational system is in 3 parts. We have primary education, secondary education, tertiary education. Primary education is starts from 1st grade. Then we have what we call the preschool. I don't like the term because preschool seems like it's not school, but I think it's school. But we have preschool, which is 2 to 5-year-olds. That's not even part of the educational system. That's under the Department of Social Services. So preschool is not under the Ministry of Education, who is responsible for education. We don't consider preschool as education. That's why I don't like it. So preschool in Ghana is under social services, up to 2 to 5-year-olds. Then 1st grade to 9th grade is primary education. 10th, 11th, 12th is secondary education or high school education. Then after that, you go to tertiary, which is college. About 50% of those who finish 9th grade used to drop off the educational system because we have about 1,000 high schools in the country, and there are about 20,000 elementary schools or primary schools. So imagine students from 20,000 9th grade schools struggling to get into 1,000 high schools. I mean, the high schools are overpopulated, but we just cannot take in many students. And so many of them drop off, about 50%. And because the high schools were fee-paying boarding schools, many couldn't afford, so they dropped off. Our current president, when he was running for office 6 years ago, made a promise he was going to make high school education free. Well, he won, and he came in, and 6 years ago, the government started implementing a free high school education. Well, that opened the door, or the floodgates, for more people who couldn't afford to now go to high school. So the population of high school doubled. Unfortunately, the government didn't double the facilities. They didn't double the classrooms or the dormitories, And so the schools are really overpopulated right now. But still, some don't go. A lot more go now. But then from high school to college, you have to write an exam, and only a few go in there. So from those who start elementary school, only about 10% go. But at the Village of Hope, about 90% go on to college. And then the remaining 10% go to learn some skills, some vocational skills. Like I said, 70, there's no children's home in Ghana that even comes close. That even has 20 children in college. And we have 70. That is 3 times the closest children's home in Ghana. And as I said, we have over 100 who have actually graduated from college over the last 25 years that we've been running. So our percentage is really high. Yes, sir.
In your high school, you mentioned that you have to, every 12th grader has to write a national exam. What was the scores for Hope College, high school, compared to the national average?
Okay, I cannot tell the specific percentage, but it was extremely high. Last year, almost all our kids qualified to go to college, and that was our best results ever. And it was a very, the difficulty is they write exams over 8 subjects, and you need to pass in 6. So the 8 subjects are 4 core subjects where every high school student must pass in that: English language, mathematics, social studies, and integrated science. Every high school student must pass in at least 3 of these. Well, math and English, and one of either social studies or or science. So you need 3 passes from the 4. Then you select your own elective subjects, 4. So if you want to do science, you select physics, biology, chemistry, and additional mathematics. If you want to do arts, liberal arts, you select geography, history, literature, government or political science. If you want to study business, you select business management, cost accounting, financial accounting, economics. And so then if you want to do home economics, you study management and living, catering, or sewing, courses like that. Well, you need 3 passes of your 4 electives and 3 passes of your 4 core, so you need 6. And I would say about 90% of our students got that pass. And the 10 that didn't go, it was mathematics. There's a problem we have in mathematics. Our students are afraid of mathematics, and we are trying to take that fear out of them. And so they are going to write a remedial class, and they just need to pass mathematics and go on. Whereas to go. And so because of that, now this year, we are actually going to turn away students, because we are taking only 140 students into 10th grade. And everybody knows of our results, and people are, bringing their children for us to educate them, because they know their children have a higher chance or probability of qualifying for college if they came to Hope College. So compared to the nationally, we did very, very well.
And how many 12th graders did you have this past year?
148, I think, wrote the exam.
90% of those made it into college.
Yes. In fact, for most of the subjects, there were only 4 subjects that we didn't have 100%. Mathematics, English, French, and there's a 4th subject. Our students write exams over 24 subjects. And 20 out of the 24, we had 100% pass. 20 subjects out of 24 subjects, we had 100%